What if I told you that in the next 42 minutes, you could become more confident than 90% of people you know? Not fake confidence, not loud, attention-seeking confidence, but the kind that makes people pause when you speak. The kind that shifts power in a room without you saying much at all. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you decide in a single moment. And tonight, Ethan Brooks is about to make that decision. With everything on the line, Ethan used to rehearse conversations in his head long before they ever happened. Every sentence had to be perfect, every reaction calculated, not because he cared about being clear, but because he was afraid of being judged. He would walk into a room already shrinking, already adjusting himself to fit what he thought people wanted to see. And the strange part was, no one ever asked him to do that. No one told him to hold back, to soften his voice, to doubt his ideas. He did it on his own, quietly, repeatedly, until it became who he was. There's a moment most people never notice. It's subtle, almost invisible. It's the moment right before you speak and when your mind interrupts and asks, "Is this okay to say?" That single question seems harmless, but it carries weight, because hidden inside it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of not being enough. And the more you obey that question, the more control you hand over to people who aren't even thinking about you as much as you think they are. Ethan lived inside that moment. At work, he had ideas, good ones, but he would wait for the right time, wait for someone else to speak first. And when they did and their idea wasn't even half as strong, he would still nod along, agree, smile, pretend. Because disagreeing meant risking tension, and tension meant discomfort, and discomfort felt like danger. But it wasn't danger, it was growth knocking. The problem is when you constantly seek approval, you start shaping your identity around it. You become what people expect instead of what you actually are. You filter your words, you dilute your thoughts, you trade authenticity for acceptance, and in the process, something inside you starts to fade. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, like a light dimming over time. One evening, Ethan sat alone in his apartment, staring at his reflection in the dark screen of his laptop. The room was silent, but his mind was. It replayed every moment he held back, every time he chose comfort over honesty, every time he let someone else take space that could have been his. And for the first time, the thought didn't comfort him, it frustrated him. Why am I like this? Not in a helpless way, in a questioning way, a breaking point kind of way. Because deep down, he knew something wasn't right. It wasn't that he lacked ability. It wasn't that he lacked intelligence. It was something else, something harder to admit. He cared too much about what people thought. And the moment he said that to himself, something shifted, not dramatically, not instantly, but enough. Because awareness is dangerous. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The next day, something small happened, almost insignificant. A coworker interrupted him mid-sentence during a meeting. Normally, Ethan would stop, apologize, let them take over. But this time, he didn't. Not aggressively, not emotionally, just calmly. "Let me finish." The room paused. It wasn't loud. It wasn't confrontational, but it was different. And that difference echoed louder than any argument ever could. For a split second, his heart raced. His mind screamed, "You're being rude, they won't like this." But something else spoke louder. "So what?" That was new. So what if they didn't like it? So what if there was a moment of tension? For the first time, Ethan allowed that possibility and didn't run from it. Because here's the truth most people avoid. Approval is addictive. The more you seek it, the more you need it. And the more you need it, the weaker your sense of self becomes. You start outsourcing your worth to other people's reactions. A smile makes you feel valuable. A frown makes you question everything. And suddenly, your entire identity is in the hands of people who are too busy dealing with their own insecurities to manage yours. Ethan began noticing this everywhere. People agreeing just to avoid conflict. People laughing at jokes they didn't find funny. People staying silent when they had something meaningful to say. It wasn't just him. It was everyone. And that realization didn't make him feel superior. It made him feel aware. Because the difference between confident people and everyone else isn't that they're fearless. It's that they've made peace with not being liked by everyone. They don't chase approval. They respect themselves enough to risk losing it. That doesn't mean disrespecting others. It doesn't mean arrogance. It means honesty. It means speaking when you have something to say, even if your voice shakes. It means standing by your values, even if it creates friction. And from a deeper ethical perspective, it aligns with something timeless. Your actions are judged by your intentions, not by how many people clap for you, not by how many people approve, but by whether you acted with sincerity, integrity, and truth. Ethan started testing this idea in small ways. He stopped apologizing for things that didn't require an apology. He stopped explaining himself unnecessarily. He stopped trying to fill every silence with words. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like walking without a safety net. But slowly, something unexpected happened. People started treating him differently. Not because he changed who he was, but because he stopped hiding it. There's a certain energy in someone who doesn't need approval. It's subtle but powerful. It tells people, I respect myself enough not to bend for validation. And that kind of energy is hard to ignore. One afternoon, a colleague approached him after a meeting. "You've changed," she said. Ethan paused. For a moment, the old instinct kicked in. Explain, justify, make it sound acceptable. But he didn't. "I stopped overthinking," he replied simply. That wasn't the full truth, but it was close enough. Because what he really stopped doing was asking for permission to exist as himself. And that's where confidence begins. Not in loud declarations, not in perfect performance, but in quiet decisions. The decision to speak, even if your voice isn't perfect. The decision to disagree, even if it creates tension. The decision to stand, even if no one immediately supports you. Because every time you choose self-respect over approval, you take a piece of your power back. And the more pieces you reclaim, the stronger you become. Not louder, not more aggressive, just unshaken. Ethan used to believe that confidence meant having the perfect words ready at the perfect time. He thought it was about speaking quickly, responding instantly, proving himself before anyone could question him. So he filled every silence, over-explained every idea, added extra words just to make sure no one misunderstood him. And in doing that, he unknowingly weakened his own presence. Because the more he spoke, the less people listened. It took him a long time to notice that. There was always this subtle pattern. In meetings, the people who talked the most were rarely the ones others remembered. They were heard but not felt. Their words passed through the room without leaving weight. But then there were those few individuals who barely spoke. And yet, when they did, everything shifted. People leaned in. The room went quiet. Not because they were louder, but because they were controlled asterisk. Ethan didn't understand it at first. It didn't make sense. How could saying less make you more powerful? Until one moment forced him to see it. It was during a team discussion. The energy was tense. Deadlines were missed. Blame was floating in the air, unspoken but heavy. Everyone was talking over each other, trying to defend their position, trying to avoid being the one at fault. Ethan felt the pressure rising in his chest. His instinct was to jump in, to explain, to clarify his role before anyone pointed fingers at him. But this time he didn't. He just sat there, silent. At first it felt uncomfortable, almost wrong. His mind screamed at him to say something, anything, fill the gap, protect yourself. But he stayed still. And something strange happened. The longer he remained silent, the more aware he became. He started noticing things he would have missed if he had spoken. The tone in people's voices, the way one person avoided eye contact, the hesitation before someone answered a question. Silence didn't make him weaker. It made him aware asterisk. Because when you're not busy talking, you're free to observe, and observation is power. Most people react instantly, emotionally, without thinking. They hear something they don't like and they respond right away. They interrupt, defend, justify, and in that reaction they reveal everything: insecurities, fears, uncertainty. But the person who pauses, who lets the moment breathe, controls it. Ethan realized that silence isn't empty. It's strategic. It creates space, and in that space, people begin to reveal themselves. The conversation in the room continued, voices overlapping, tension rising. Then someone turned to Ethan. "You've been quiet, what do you think?" All eyes shifted toward him. This was the moment he used to fear. But now something felt different. He didn't rush. He didn't scramble for words. He let the silence sit, just for a second longer. And in that pause, something powerful happened. He chose his words, carefully, intentionally. "I think we're all trying to defend ourselves, instead of solving the problem." That was it. No long explanation, no emotional tone, just clarity. And the effect was immediate. The room went still. Not because what he said was complicated, but because it was precise. That's the thing about composure. It doesn't try to impress. It doesn't try to dominate. It simply cuts through the noise. Ethan began to understand something deeper. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. Because people aren't overwhelmed by them, they focus on them. But silence alone isn't enough. It's what you pair it with that matters. Composure, the ability to stay calm, especially when everything around you is. Because silence without composure feels awkward, weak, uncertain. But silence with composure, that feels intentional. And intention is what people respect. There's a certain kind of pressure that tests this. The kind that shows up when someone challenges you directly, when they question your idea, interrupt you, or try to push you into reacting. That's where most people lose control. Ethan used to. If someone disagreed with him, his heart would race. His thoughts would speed up. He would try to respond immediately, often saying more than necessary, trying to prove himself. But now he did something different. He paused, even if it was just for a second. That pause changed everything, because it broke the automatic reaction. It gave him space to think instead of just respond. And more importantly, it showed others that he wasn't easily shaken. People test you, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. They challenge your ideas, they interrupt, they push boundaries just to see how you react. Not because they're bad people, but because it's human nature to look for stability in others. And the moment you react emotionally, you signal instability. But when you stay composed, when you don't rush, when you don't let their energy control yours, you send a different signal. I'm in control, not of them, of yourself. And that's where real power comes from. Ethan started applying this everywhere. When someone criticized his work, he didn't immediately defend it. He listened, paused, then responded calmly. When conversations got heated, he didn't raise his voice to match the intensity. He lowered it. When people tried to rush him into decisions, he slowed down instead. At first, people didn't know how to react to this version of him. Because they were used to quick responses, emotional reactions, predictable patterns. But now, he wasn't predictable. And unpredictability, when paired with calmness, creates presence. People started giving him more space. more attention, more respect. Not because he demanded it, but because his behavior earned it. There's something deeply grounding about someone who doesn't react to everything. It makes others feel like they don't have to either. And that influence spreads quietly. Ethan noticed that when he stayed calm, others began to calm down too. When he didn't interrupt, others stopped interrupting. When he spoke with intention, others listened more carefully. It wasn't control in an aggressive sense. It was influence through example. And that's far more powerful, because it doesn't force change. It invites it. He remembered something his brother once told him. You don't have to win every moment. You just have to stay in control of yourself. At the time, it sounded simple. Now it felt profound. Because self-control isn't about suppression. It's about awareness, choosing when to speak, choosing when to stay silent, choosing how to respond instead of reacting automatically. And that choice, repeated over time, builds something rare. A presence that people feel. Not because you're loud, but because you're steady. Not because you dominate conversations, but because you shape them. And once Ethan experienced that, he couldn't go back. Because he realized something most people never do. The loudest person in the room isn't the most powerful. The calmest one is. Ethan spent most of his life waiting for a feeling that never came. He called it readiness. That quiet moment where everything inside you aligns, where fear disappears, where confidence finally arrives and says, now you can go. He believed that moment existed. He believed everyone else had found it. And he was the only one still stuck outside, watching, waiting for his turn. So he delayed. He postponed decisions. He told himself, I'll speak when I'm more confident. I'll try when I'm more prepared. I'll step forward when I feel ready. But ready never came. It just kept moving further away, like a horizon you can see but never reach. And the cost of that waiting wasn't obvious at first. It didn't look like failure, it looked like safety, comfort, stability, no embarrassment, no risk, no rejection. But underneath that comfort, something was slowly breaking. Because every time he held back, he was teaching himself a dangerous lesson. I can't handle this yet. And when you repeat that message long enough, it becomes your identity. One evening, Ethan sat in his car outside the interview building. Engine off, hands resting on the steering wheel. The city moved around him, lights flickering, people walking with purpose. Everyone seemed to be going somewhere. Except him. His phone screen lit up. The time was ticking. He had minutes left. His heart was racing. His mind was louder than ever. What if I mess this up? What if I freeze? What if they realize I'm not as good as they think? The thoughts came fast, sharp, convincing. And for a moment, he almost listened. He almost turned the key, almost drove away, almost chose the same pattern he had always chosen. Avoid. Delay. Wait. But something felt different this time. Not stronger, not braver. Just tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of holding back. Tired of being the person who almost tried. And in that exhaustion, something honest surfaced. What if I go in, not because I'm ready, but because I'm done waiting? That thought didn't remove the fear. It didn't calm his heart. It didn't make him suddenly confident. But it gave him something else. A decision. Because here's the truth no one likes to admit. Confidence is not a requirement for action. It's a result of it. And Ethan had been chasing it in the wrong direction his entire life. He thought confidence comes first, then action follows. But it's the opposite. Action comes first, confidence follows. He stepped out of the car. Every step toward the building felt heavy, not because something was physically holding him back, but because his mind was still resisting. Turn back. "You're not ready. You'll regret this." But he kept walking, not because he felt fearless, but because he stopped negotiating with fear. Inside the building, everything felt sharper, brighter, louder, the kind of environment that makes you hyper-aware of yourself. Every movement, every glance, every small detail suddenly feels important. He checked in, sat down, waited. And the waiting was the hardest part. Because when you're still, your thoughts get louder. Doubt doesn't shout when you're moving. It whispers when you're still. His name was called. That was it. The moment he had been building up in his head for days, reduced to a single sentence. "Ethan, they're ready for you." He stood up. For a split second, everything inside him hesitated. This was the last chance to back out. The last chance to stay the same. And then he walked in. Not confidently, not perfectly, but deliberately. The room was exactly how he imagined it. Serious faces, evaluating eyes, a space designed to test you without saying it directly. He sat down. The questions began. At first, his voice wasn't steady. His words weren't perfect. He stumbled slightly, paused longer than usual. And for a moment, the old fear came back. "See, you're not ready." But something unexpected happened. Nothing collapsed. The room didn't reject him. The conversation didn't end. No one stopped him and said, "You don't belong here." Life kept moving. The moment passed. And that's when it hit him. The fear he had been avoiding wasn't as powerful as he imagined. It felt intense, but it didn't destroy him. And that realization changed everything. Because once you act despite fear, you gather evidence. Evidence that you can handle discomfort. Evidence that imperfection doesn't equal failure. Evidence that the worst-case scenario in your head rarely happens the way you think it will. And that evidence builds something real. Not fake confidence, not temporary motivation, but grounded belief. The kind that doesn't come from words, but from experience. As the interview continued, something shifted inside him. Not dramatically, subtly. He stopped trying to perform, stopped trying to impress, and started focusing on being present. Answering honestly, listening fully, speaking when he had something to say, not when he felt pressured to fill space. And in that shift, his confidence began to rise. Not because the fear disappeared, but because it lost its authority. It was still there, just no longer in control. There's a moment in every challenge where things either spiral or stabilize. For Ethan, that moment came when one of the interviewers challenged him directly. "You don't seem fully prepared for this level of responsibility." Old Ethan would have panicked, explained too much, defended himself, tried to recover immediately. But this time he paused, not because he had the perfect answer, but because he allowed himself to think. And in that pause, something powerful happened. He realized he didn't need to prove anything instantly. He just needed to respond honestly. "I may not have every answer right now, but I've proven I can learn fast and handle pressure. That's what matters most." It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that's what made it strong. Because confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting yourself to figure them out. The interview ended. He walked out of the room, and something inside him felt different. Not relieved, not proud, just expanded. Like a boundary had been pushed. Like a version of him that didn't exist before had just been created. And that's when the truth became undeniable. You don't become confident by thinking about it. You become confident by doing the things that require it. Before you feel ready, before you feel certain, before you feel prepared. Because readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision you make in the presence of fear. And every time you make that decision, you change. Not instantly, but permanently. And once you experience that shift, even once, you realize something that changes how you approach everything in life. You were never waiting for confidence. Confidence was waiting for you to act.